Can you think of a concrete example where I know I got to do this, but I'm going to
Mhm.
do this first, unrelated, but it somehow gave you a little bit of efficacy on doing this? Can you think of an example?
Um, I mean, often I've had multiple project. If I work on multiple projects, and I try and solve a way, a formula or something, or a way to do something. I'll watch a video or read something on the internet, and if I figure a way, a shortcut to correct or to solve where I got stuck on one project, often, you often learn something and you realize, that I've just realized I can shortcut all these other things.
Yeah.
But partly, I think sometimes giving yourself the mental freedom from those other projects and putting them in the back burner of your brain.
Yeah.
I think your brain might still, I don't know the math or the science behind it, but might still be trying to work on those in the background.
Yeah.
And sometimes just giving yourself a break, change of direction, can actually help your brain sort of figure out what to do on those, where all the other roadblocks in your other projects. So just forcing yourself through a roadblock again, banging your head against a project and saying, I'm just going to finish this one and then I'll do the next one. Again, sometimes may not be the most efficient way. If
Yeah.
you take a break, try something else, solve some other unrelated problem, either that might help directly, but also I think indirectly.
So I think your subconscious also finds analogies or applications that weren't obvious
Mm.
to you consciously. And so there's another argument to get a little asynchronous.
Yeah.
And you also made a key point, and this was from How to Take Smart Notes, which you're also reading. But Nicholas Lauman was
Mhm.
famous for saying, "I've never worked on anything I didn't feel like working on."
That's
Right?
right.
He
Yeah.
only worked on what he felt like working on, but he made
That's right.
the his work approach, the shipping container of his work
Hmm.
was very defined, and he always felt like working on something. So he
That's
was
right.
always filling shipping containers. And
Yep.
then they somehow lined up in a new way, or they stacked, or they did something where all of a sudden he was solving really big challenges in all areas, but he
Yeah.
only ever worked on what he felt like working on.
Yeah. And I think maybe there's this compounding or stacking concept of ideas. You have an idea, and all of a sudden, if you just let your brain, or or the direction that you're thinking or exploring, if you just allow yourself to explore in the direction you're really interested in,
Yeah.
you might connect three or four other ideas. It's quite interesting.
Well, and I will tell you for maybe future discussions, but where I've made immense progress in that area is through mind mapping,
Mhm.
right?
All right. Okay.
Like a thought from a mind map perspective is a permanent, is the same idea as a permanent note. And so
Hmm.
I can work on a concept. Maybe I'm coaching someone, and through the discussion of coaching someone, I have an idea of an exercise now that will be
Mm.
useful to everyone I'm coaching, that I
Right.
wouldn't have been able to create if I didn't have the specific coaching session with this one person, right? And
Yeah. Exactly.
so I'm having a discussion with this guy named Guy, actually, and we're discussing the flow loop. Flow happens in four phases, and we're having a pretty deep discussion. And as through that discussion, I thought, oh wow, I now know the exercise I can give everyone. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
I go from coaching session April 12th, Guy talked about flow loop. I make a copy
Hmm.
of that material and I go put it in my slip box, which is also in my mind map, and I start creating the
Right.
template. So that's how I'm using
Yeah.
it, just food for thought for you.
Interesting. No, that's good. And I think bringing up your brain, so that it can continually think of new ideas, because it knows it doesn't have to write them down. I think nothing is a buzz record to your flow than having your brain say, I got to keep remembering what that idea was
Yeah,
I had 5 minutes ago. If
yeah.
you can just say, okay, I've spat it out onto the paper, into my notebox or whatever,
And now I can
then your
keep
brain's
going.
free. It
Yeah.
just keeps, flying through. That's, yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can fall out of flow. And I think that's an interesting, if you can set up the mechanisms around how to keep yourself in flow, I think that's really a huge benefit.